And now, the main event, the men's War Games match. Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre and the Judgment Day, consisting of Damian Priest, Finn Bálor, Dirty Dominik Mysterio, and JD McDonagh. Now, as cool as Drew McIntyre and the Judgment Day's entrances are, man, I have never experienced at a WWE event the just tremendous sustained hype after hype after hype moment that you got with all four babyfaces entrances, whether we were doing the, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, all that, just singing stuff, and especially when we got to Cody Rhodes, whoa, yeah, stuff like that. Also, my gosh, did the hype get real with Jey Uso. We were all doing, it's just me, Uso, day one, it was just really a lot of fun, and this is what I'm always been talking about for years with WWE. Go ahead and give us multiple top guys and gals. It doesn't have to be about just that one guy, one gal, and this is what happens. You get all these baby faces that are all hot with the crowd for the entrances, because man, what I'm telling you, out there and being in there in Allstate Arena, we were lit for that. I really also enjoyed Seth Rollins, how he starts this match. So he does a suicide dive right over both ropes from one ring to the other ring and just start hammering Finn Bálor, and it starts off really good. Also, some of the noteworthy things that I want to say about this match: Jey Uso, man, this guy was on fire. Every time he strike, the audience was like, yeet, yeet, yeet. There was just a lot of yeeting going on. Then we had, of course, Damian Priest at one point. He pulls out a steel baton, and just starts wrecking everybody with it. And one of the really good things that I had to mention, and I mentioned this earlier with the women's War Games, was that dynamic of face and heel turn. So unlike Asuka being the heel taking out the table, it's actually Sami Zayn who takes out the table, and he's the babyface and gets the thank you Sami chance, and it makes much more sense when you do it that way. Another thing that was great contrast to that steel baton that Damian Priest took out earlier was Sami Zayn from the cage taking out a metal pipe, and that's where he just starts wrecking all the heels with it. I also love when Drew McIntyre came out. He just changed the whole dynamic of the match in his favor, taking out all the baby faces, making sure it was him and Jey Uso one-on-one in that second ring. And listen, I was probably the only guy, at least in my section of the audience, still chanting for Drew. I was like, Drew, and I'm like, I've been loyal since day one when you were the chosen one. I'm gonna stay loyal, because even Drew McIntyre going heel, I'm still a loyal Drew McIntyre fan, so I was cheering for him. The other people in the audience were looking at me because they were basically like, no, Drew. They were cheering for Jey Uso, so hey, gotta stay loyal. That being said, going back to this match, yeah, he got Jey Uso one-on-one. That's what the whole psychology was for Drew. He just cared about getting revenge on Jey Uso, so I love the storytelling that you got here. And another thing that was really cool was that you got to see Jey Uso and Sami work together doing the 1D, and Cody Rhodes, just being able to compete in the WWE version of the match that his father, the late great American Dream Dusty Rhodes, invented. That was really cool. Speaking of Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes actually pulls out a bull rope, which was also made famous by his father's legendary matches, and Seth and Cody, and a cool callback to their match in that same very building for Hell in a Cell, both ended up using it as a weapon against the Judgment Day. Also, I can't begin to describe the amount of heat Dominik Mysterio gets. I'm telling y'all right now, WWE programming, man, it does not do it justice of how much heat he gets. Ain't nothing piped in about that. Even before the 10-second countdown, people were saying, Dom, you suck, or F you, Dom, and the boos. I have never experienced such a loud, sustained, unanimous boo from the entire audience. It was incredible to witness in person. So Dominik Mysterio really has come a long way being able to generate that heel heat. And it's funny too, because I was in the building at Allstate Arena for Survivor Series 2019, where he got one of the biggest ovations of the night because he did the father-son 619. And now 4 years later, for that same event in that same building, he is now getting booed heavily. So man, the amount of things that can change in just 4 years. There was a funny dig by Michael Cole when Dominik Mysterio ran out where he said, that's the longest Dominik has spent behind bars. That was a fantastic line that really works with the whole Dirty Dom character. Now, getting to the closing parts of this match, the Judgment Day was basically taking advantage of the 5-on-4 advantage. All the baby faces were laid out, and then when the 10-second countdown happened, Rhea Ripley comes running out with the briefcase, and I was wondering, were they going to do a cash-in within the WarGames match? But before that could become a possibility, Randy Orton's music hits, and man, he got a monstrous reaction from all of us. We were jumping up and down. Man, it was definitely the biggest pop of the night until we get to the end of the show, that is. But man, it was huge. And Randy Orton, man, the guy came out looking jacked. Biggest I've seen Randy Orton in I don't know how long, since probably the early 2000s. But yeah, Randy Orton came in phenomenal shape, but those big new muscles that he had definitely did not take away from his cardio, because he was conditioned, doing all his signature moves. It was just great. The hype in the arena was tremendous. So that was really good to see. And they had done this storyline where they were doing like, would he or would he not show up? And I was like, why would you do that in Chicago unless something much bigger was planned towards the end of the show? More about that later. So we get to the rest of this match. Randy Orton, you talk about how dynamics change with Drew McIntyre. Randy Orton definitely changed the dynamics into the favor of the baby faces, and Randy Orton, man, he was just killing it. And this is why I've always have enjoyed Randy Orton, because that man understands psychology and storytelling, and he did not lose any bit of that in this match. Randy Orton, when he came face to face with Drew McIntyre, they were having this intense stare down, which was a callback because Randy, of course, was the first person to defeat Drew McIntyre for the World Championship. So you saw them going back and rekindling their feud. There's even a part also, the Randy Orton DDT, where he drapes his opponent's feet over the top ropes and then crashes them down, all of the baby faces to the heel. So that was spectacular to see in person. And I really love Randy Orton once again. Great storytelling, turning over to Jey Uso when he was gearing up for the RKO, and he told Jey Uso right then and there that, hey, he has not forgotten that it was the bloodline that took him out, basically remembering that spot. But Jey Uso, being a team player, ended up doing the super kick to Damian Priest before he could attack Randy Orton. So even though Randy hasn't forgotten, they still were being doing what they needed to do in order to be team players. So I really love that detail in the match. And then from here, man, it just went crazy. The baby faces just went wild, hitting all their signature and finishers on the Judgment Day. And this all ultimately leads to JD McDonagh being the only person left. And so he climbs the cage, and of course you would forfeit if you climb over the cage and escape, but he's just basically trying to run for his life here. And at this point, Seth Rollins and Sami, they catch up with him to the top of the cage, throw him off of the cage into a super RKO by Randy Orton. And man, I just mean, we all went wild for this. This was awesome. Randy Orton still finding new ways to make the RKO look spectacular. And then this leads to Randy Orton basically endorsing his fellow Legacy member. So it was cool to get a reunion of Legacy here with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. And he gives Damian Priest over to Cody Rhodes, who finishes Damian Priest off with the Crossroads. 1, 2, 3, matches over, and the good guys win. This was, like I said, a fantastic War Games match. Storytelling wise, not as good as the War Games last year for the men, but this certainly from an in-ring perspective, I thought was definitely better. And man, the hype was way bigger for this one. There were so many hype moments. So it was a fantastic match to see in person, and you got to see everybody celebrating. So it was really awesome. And there's only one thing that could top this, and that was